We're back. It's your movie review, man. I'm Jeff Johnson, and this is
Claude,
and we're here reviewing the latest series dropped on Disney Plus. We'll have to call it one of our Bingeables, right? Claude, does it qualify as a Bingeable, Claude, if it's only 9 episodes in one season?
It may be more of a snack, but it's bingeable if you are going to enjoy watching one episode after the next.
All right, so it goes under...
As of this time, the second most recent series that's dropped.
That's
true. We had another from Disney's, from the Marvel world,
from the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the Marvel
Falcon and the Winter Soldier
television universe, right?
It took me a little while,
And so we'll dig into that in just a minute. The one that precedes their one series after another, they're moving into their phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is the show Wandavision. So Claude, tell us a little bit about Wandavision.
Okay, well, Wandavision, it takes place, it was definitely after the events in Avengers Endgame, and we see the characters Wanda Maximoff and Vision living suburban life in Westview, New Jersey. Now, maybe a little offset, just a little off-putting if people are just watching it, because as one noticed, the suburban world that they're living in definitely seems to be sort of like a 1950s a sitcom. So stylistically, this is going in a different direction in terms of storytelling. It is by the end of the pilot episode that we see that aside that we are not the only ones watching the show, because they cut to somebody watching a more advanced equipment, watching also watching what's happening with Wanda and Vision as if they're watching a TV show themselves.
Sure.
So we are in for a completely different ride compared to other shows or any the movies that we've seen regarding the Marvel superheroes.
Yeah, in fact, it's maybe 2 times too clever. The way they released this, they didn't do the typical Netflix drop, right? Where Netflix would drop an entire series all at once. As a matter of fact, Netflix had several Marvel's series shows, and they did it the Netflix way, right? Where each full season would drop at one time, and you can watch it whenever you want to watch it. You can binge right through it. Netflix is your pusher man for binging any type of series, because they're notorious for dropping them all at once. And the software, when you get to the end of each episode, the software gives you a button and you can quit the credits and click on through. Well, this is different. Disney Plus decided, and they made a conscious choice, that when they dropped the initial episode, they dropped 2 at a time. My personal theory on that is, and therefore my bingeable advice to you, the movie review men's bingeable advice. The first advice is stick with it. Marvel even recognized that episode 1 is so trippy dippy and maybe different than what you might expect, that you need to see the end of episode 1 and the beginning of episode 2 to catch on to what's going on. Claude, you mentioned that the very last cuts of episode 1, they give you a sequence that makes it clear that this is not your normal viewing, that someone in the modern era with a modern color flat screen TV, but more than that, with monitoring equipment, right, is at a minimum observing Vision and Wanda operating in black and white in the 50s, in a 50s sitcom. And so if you're really into television, which you and I are, and if you're really into American television and media culture, well, you'll get a kick out of the different shows that Wanda and Vision, who is still the red and green ball-headed automaton, living robot man person, are operating in what is initially the Dick Van Dyke Show in episode 1. Then they move maybe forward a decade to a 60s sitcom, 60s popular sitcom, and they move forward another decade and the aspect ratio changes. We drop straight into color, and it's the Brady Bunch. So you have to hang in there. You'll catch on. You almost need the second episode to catch on to the fact that they seem to be inside of a sitcom, and it almost starts to understand and want to unravel the mystery of it. The sinister nature of it only starts to rear its ugly head, if you will, in the second and third episode, when it's not only are they in a sitcom, but you're starting to wonder if they're trapped inside a sitcom. So they move forward slowly. They move forward each episode into a different decade and a different American sitcom, but the cracks in the facade of what appears to be this world they're trapped in. And of course, those who follow the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we know that in Avengers Endgame, and in fact, before Endgame, in Infinity War, Vision was killed in a way, according to the storyline, that he's gone, and he's not going to come back. He wasn't snapped and unsnapped. He had an Infinity Stone in his forehead, and Thanos ripped that sucker out, and it killed him in the process. They were pretty sure he was going to die if it came out of his head in the first place. And Wanda Maximoff had already gone through the emotional, dramatic portion in the Infinity War of accepting that she needed to destroy the stone rather than letting Thanos get a hold of it. But Thanos even thwarted that. He didn't even allow them the pleasure. But after they had gone through the fact that they become lovers, Wanda Maximoff and the Vision, they had to accept that to save half of all the universe, she would have to destroy the stone in his forehead, and that would probably kill him. So
yeah, and that just leads to just one of different traumas that you have to deal with. In terms of sort of dealing, in terms of how the show is presented, I mean, I'm gonna initially say that I think the story is, and the concept is just, it wasn't anything that I expected, and it's actually just sort of made the show absolutely just a fascinating ride to watch. Because it's like at the same time, okay, obviously there's a TV sitcom world is being created. They're referencing a lot of different things, but that just goes to adding to the mystery of why is everything happening. And it gives us a show that we usually did, just never seen before. Usually when we've seen, comic book characters that were brought to the screen, and I was actually it was going to build up to a joke because, way back in the day when we had like a show like the Incredible Hulk, we had, actually it was actually a pretty good show, but there was one. They were doing a TV movie, and everyone was excited about it because it was going to be the Incredible Hulk, and they were going to introduce Thor, into the story. And so, Jeff knows what I'm talking about. To a lot of you, younger people who may be giving us a chance. I wanted to, just to let you know that you guys have it really, really good right now because your comic book characters look very close to what you see on TV and in the comic books. But this is, Jeff, if you have the still, we could show the audience what we had to look forward to. What was our reward for waiting for the comic book to be adapted to TV?
We're gonna have to intercut and edit that in here right now. So they'll be looking at it right now. You can give your reaction to it.
Okay. So this is what we had to grow up with. So again, I'm gonna let you begin the young people know you guys are growing up at you know, a wonderful, at a you know, at an incredible time. The series was created by Jack Snyder, who was also writing the screenplay for uh, this, the movie that's coming out about oh man, why am I forgetting names now? Black Widow. She did the Black Widow movie.
Okay.
And it was a number of episodes were directed by Matt Shackman, who's done a lot of very incredible TV shows, including Mad Men, Damages, who's basically been a very steady hitter in terms of directing television. We have an absolutely amazing cast. Wanda Maximoff, being played by Elizabeth Olsen, who's a sister of the Olsen sisters, who are basically industry and television. But Elizabeth Olsen has distinguished herself as an amazing film actress. We also have Paul Bettany, who has an amazing resume in terms of being in a number of movies, Academy nominated. I think he had a small role in A Beautiful Mind, and he's been in a bunch of different things. You'll recognize her face. We also have Catherine Hahn, who plays Agnes Harkness. She's done a lot of comedic acting recently, and some of you may remember Tiana Parrish. She was in the movie Chirac, and she also had done some episodes of Mad Men. So this is like really just a top cast, and again it's really inventive storytelling, and just overall conceptually, just very rich show.
I definitely got to say that it's a standout that they brought in Catherine Hahn. I'll throw in one more, which is a surprise that I discovered later. Catherine Hahn is in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. She plays Doc Ock.
Oh.
And once I found that out, I'm not surprised at all. She is amazing. And of course, in this movie, in this television series, where each episode, they're all of the extras, if you will, everyone else outside of Wanda and Vision are operating around in this New Jersey town, but the town keeps getting dragged forward from one decade to the next, into one sitcom into the next. And so Catherine Hahn has to be a different nosy next door neighbor, befitting of each decade they happen to be in. And she's spot on and hilarious. I enjoy her best in her over the top portrayal of what the nosy neighbor sitcom person is in each one of these versions of the Dick Van Dyke Show, and then moving forward in the 60s, and then move forward to the 70s of the Brady Bunch. And I'll be honest with you, I watch a lot of television, but I don't actually know all of the shows that they had.
Oh no, same here.
I mean, the 80s, and then went the 80s and 90s, and I didn't know what those shows were.
Yeah, no. But the thing is that the template is sort of there. I mean, maybe you did not see the show, but at least you recognize, oh, this could have been, like such and such show. This could have been,
And
like,
what it means is it's got something.
The Office at one time, or
right,
or or shows that were, just different shows.
Something for everyone
in the 80s.
Probably. Correct. Because they show Vision going into the office, and even that maybe steps into different sitcoms when they do those. But Hahn, she stands out. Catherine Hahn is hilarious. Her performance is almost theatrical in nature, because again, since they're in this stylized essentially satire of sitcoms throughout the decades, her performances within them, it's okay to be a smidge over the top, right? Mm-hmm. To be a smidge, as they say in theater, she's reaching for the back rows of the theater house. She's reaching the back rows of the house with her performance, not just shooting straight into the camera. And I like those best. So I got to say that those things are some of the highlights of the show. The fact that you're getting back the original cast members. Elizabeth Olsen, it's better for her that she's doing this. We now have depth to her. I kind of did not like her Sokovian accent. Is that fair to say? I've watched all the Marvel movies. I mean, I got over it, but her Sokovian accent was a little annoying. You drop her into this show where, again, she's trying to play Mary Tyler Moore role of the Dick Van Dyke Show, and then she's trying to play each of the other American sitcom housewives through the decades with no Sokovian accent, with English accent, and they even they're self-aware. They make fun of it. Catherine Hahn makes fun of her accent at one point. It's like, where'd the accent go? What happened? All these Avengers movies and this thick fake country called Sokovia. Her accent's gone. I enjoyed her better without the accent. I'm just saying. When she got her accent back, I was a little disappointed.
That's okay. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from. I think that's a little too nitpicky for me. I am not that accents type of person. I was completely. I mean, she's definitely one of my favorite characters.
She's got magic. She's magic on her throat and get rid of the accent.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. She can try to keep it. I'm fine. I'm okay with it.
They're so self-aware.
Funny that there were a couple of things you said about Catherine Hahn that I thought was interesting, because you made a connection to Spider-Man, and a Spider-Man connection that I sort of saw. And this is not for the comic book people per se, but it's just in terms of a concept. In Spider-Man Far From Home, we basically sort of had a Peter Parker character dealing with, in a world, post Tony Stark. And, a connection I just sort of saw in terms of the Spider-Man is that this is Wanda Maximoff's life, in a way also indirectly post Tony Stark because of these events. And it pays off. Are we gonna? I'm assuming we're gonna give spoilers in this, right? I mean, at this, should we? I'm gonna go for it.
Go for it. Telegraph.
But it's really cool because even that, to a certain degree, the shadow of Tony Stark is sort of revealed a certain part of the show, and this is definitely. Again, her trying to resolve a lot of different issues that happen in her life. And I was thinking about this a little bit because a number of people were saying that they had problems with the ending because they think that to a certain degree she got off easy, or she didn't have to, pay for her crimes. So be it. I, on the other hand, say, okay, let's look let's look at the scoreboard. Going back to the trauma that she faced. Losing her family because of Tony Stark technology.
Sure.
All right. She becomes, her and her brother become enhanced, by Spectra. Okay.
But by choice.
Yeah, by choice.
They were activists. They were activists, and they had a hatred for Tony Stark and for the wars that in their Eastern Bloc European country were weaponized with Stark technology. So they became activists and they volunteered to be experimented on under the false belief that Hydra was going to help them, liberate their nation.
Thanks for correcting me on Hydra. I think I said Spectra. I think that's another franchise there, but Hydra, yes. And she has a very close relationship with her brother. And then she has to witness the brother, who was Quicksilver, basically getting killed in front of her eyes. Quicksilver is a speedster, usually faster than a speeding bullet, not necessarily so in Avengers Age of Ultron. Although actually he was trying to, he was sacrificing himself. So he got all the bullets that would have, killed another character.
Right.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to laugh about that either. Then, as you pointed out, she went through the trauma of losing the love of her life. I mean, she basically has to do, a mercy killing to sort of, in order to she has to sacrifice the love of her life in an attempt to save the world.
Sure.
Then Thanos uses the time stone to bring him back to life, so that she has to witness the villain killing.
Only kill him again. Life. Thanos brought him back to life just so that he could have the stone to kill him, not her killing. That's right. She already went through the trauma that she killed him with her own hand.
Yeah, and then to add to it, this is a person who's been through a lot of trauma, and then she she ends up, the little piece that she had was that her and Vision had purchased this plot of property, and as a result, she created this whole world. And is she out? No, because at the end of the show, she is she's not going to get her punishment now. I mean, she's a very high functioning superhero. Really, how can you punish her? So she puts herself in exile, knowing that she did harm to people. So she's away from people. She's studying the magic, but what do we hear while she's studying the magic? We hear the voices of not just Vision, but the two children, Billy and Tommy, who were the twins that she gave birth to. So she's not by any means, I'm just basically saying she did not get off with anything. She's been through it. The trauma needs to be dealt with in order, for her to get to another part of her life. If she's able to even seek punishment or some type of, rehabilitation, and she needs to get to the point where that can happen.
Sure. And she's even haunted. And by the way, there's, as far as I'm concerned, people are upset about that. I mean, that's just that's just the story of this character, right? They're giving us complex characters. They're not just all perfect superheroes, but in her case, it's not like she's imperfect because she's bad. The fact that she didn't get her comeuppance, or whether she should have some comeuppance, she's a person that's going through things, and once she was able to get control of going through things, she chose to do the right thing. So what I have more problem with, we talked about the things that we enjoyed, that it was clever that they did these satires on sitcoms. It's clever they threw in some self-aware components. Nice that they're bringing back some of their characters. Let's be clear, Marvel Studios made their bread and butter off taking C-level, not A-level, not B-level, C-level characters within their comic book series, stuff that hadn't already been given out through contracts to other film studios. And they launched all of their movies based off of that and stitched their stories together in excellent ways, and just had one hit after another from, again, comic book stories from comic book heroes who weren't their most popular primary characters. Yes, there's a comic book fanboy, universe out there that likes these characters, but most of them are like, yeah, we like Marvel comics, but these weren't, the A-listers. The main ones had been scooped up and either used or abused by other film studios, and Marvel hadn't gotten them back. And this is an extension of that. Vision and Wanda Maximoff is not close to being, your top rated characters. And then they brought back other characters surrounding them, including her brother, Pietro Maximoff. They do it in a clever,
very clever,
self-aware way. And then they bring back, like the fourth level agent, the agent who was an Ant-Man. They bring back an FBI agent from Ant-Man, which Ant-Man, again, was, a C-list Marvel superhero, but put in a film that was great. They chose to make that film a comedy. They filled it with comic actors, straight comedians, and a rapper who likes to play in comedy type movies. And it was fun and hilarious, Ant-Man. And they gave us an FBI agent who was funny. The agent Jimmy Woo returns for this film to not play an antagonist. Again, he was always a humorous antagonist with Ant-Man. It was always funny how he's chasing after Ant-Man and trying to catch Ant-Man, violating his parole. He was never, a serious or dangerous or bad for our hero type guy. And so now he even gets to be more of of not an antagonist. Randall Park, playing Agent Jimmy Woo, gets to be even more fun. And then they bring back Thor's girlfriend's assistant.
Yeah,
that's about as C-list as you can get. And they make her a significant character. I'm fine with that. I'm down with that. And even more, they give us an origin story for Monica Rambeau, just has to be called a D-list character. Monica Rambeau has just bounced around the comic books with different names, with different costumes, with different suits. In the comic books, it's hard to keep track of Monica Rambeau.
Yes. She actually was technically had taken the name of Captain Marvel, and she wasn't from the chain of the Kree people, the Kree superhero who
exactly.
gave her job, who get her powers to Ms. Danvers. But she was, she had the moniker Captain Marvel for a while.
At one point. So it's still not clear.
She had a very varied history. Yes.
Yes. So it's still not clear what they're even going to give her as a superhero name here, but they introduced her in the Captain Marvel movie as a little girl. And they make clear in WandaVision that this is post-blip plus and grown up little girl from Captain Marvel movie, which, remember, Captain Marvel movie was a 90s film, if I got it right. Early 90s.
Yeah, it's supposed to take place in the 90s. You definitely knew that. You let me know for sure.
Captain Marvel.
You brought that point home. I mean, they did in the movie, but yeah.
It was an early 90s film.
Celebrated that part of that world. Yes.
Absolutely. And so this young girl is both not only grown up now, but she's one of the many people, again, many women in this story now who also experienced a trauma because she's a blip person. She was one of the persons who got snapped by Thanos just while she was in the hospital with her mom about to recover from a surgery. She gets Thanos snapped. And when she comes back 5 years later, well, her mom may have recovered, but she died since then.
Yes. Yeah.
She goes straight from, Mom, you just recovered from surgery, zip. And then when she comes back, it's 5 years later, your mom recovered and she died of something else.
Mm-hmm.
She, 5 more years, she died of something else. And you don't get to say goodbye. So she's got those issues to deal with, these emotional issues with it, but it's also the birth and kind of origin story of her character. All that is Marvel moving their storylines forward, introducing other characters to you. But that kind of moves to my critical portion about the show.
I was about to say, because you were introducing the criticism, and I'm seeing nothing but.
Okay, so now here comes my criticism.
Okay, so you're going to drop
my criticism. Here comes the slide.
Okay. All right.
They're perhaps they're coming to the end of taking B's, C's, D's, and E level characters and elevating them. Perhaps, that's the first step. But I'm not putting past them. Maybe they can pull it off. But does this show do it? I'm not so sure. If this serves as Monica Rambeau's introduction, it's not a strong one. They kind of explain how she gets her powers. They kind of give us a sequence where her powers are imbued with her, and they put her in her first suit. And her suit is very Star Trek-y.
Okay, this sounds like some nitpicking stuff next to the accent, dude. Seriously.
I'm hoping for an upgrade.
Seriously.
For a character.
Go ahead. Continue.
For a character, Monica Rambeau, who's bounced around in the comic books aimlessly, trying to get her own name and her own title and her own powers. You put her in the Star Trek Next Generation cat suit. You have her powers created.
The purpose wasn't for her to get a new. The purpose of her was not to get a new costume. I give that a boo. Okay, you seriously.
Just give her a new suit.
I'm gonna be. That's a boo right there, dude. Seriously.
Just give her a new suit.
Really nitpicky.
Let's give her a new suit. Then
you're criticizing accents and costumes. Come on now.
I am. Sorry.
And I think
Actually, I complimented accents.
Origin story. Okay, she didn't fall into a vat of acid or nothing like that. But as you pointed out, the
superheroes are done.
that she went through, where she at one moment was like, "Oh, my mom is going to be okay," and she comes out 5 years later, oh no, your mom passed away. That's a little bit of trauma. It's not going to be a spider biting her and she becomes super. I don't think that all the series has to be razzle dazzle, and I want to push back on the whole idea of sort of like B and C characters not getting stories. I think the advantage of sort of B and C characters is the fact that, unlike, super powerful superheroes where they have these powers and they're dealing with all types of stuff, the B and C characters, for the most part, are people. They're not strong enough or whatever, but they are trying to do something. And as long as you have a compelling situation where someone is trying or has to work to get their victory, there's always going to be, some type of market.
I'm down with that, Claude.
Yeah, no, I know, and I know you weren't criticizing that. I don't think that.
When I'm saying
I
they're
don't think
B
that
and
they're
C,
going to.
I'm
If
saying
anything,
they're
I think
unpopular.
they may expand on this because
They have to expand on it.
I think they will. So I don't see this as the end of that. I disagree.
They're going to have to expand on it.
Well,
And the reason why they are C's, D's, and E characters is not because of whether they have powers or not. Batman is the ultimate of that. He has no superpowers. He's just, he fighting for justice. He's rich. He does a lot of push-ups. No, these characters are C and D characters because they weren't popular. That the comic book readers voted with their feet and they liked other guys and they didn't like these guys. And in Rambo's case, it was a character who just bounced around with changing the names and the powers and then never locked in on anything good and whatever. So with this one, come strong. I think it's wonderful that they've given us this wonderful African-American woman actress in this role. I think her performances were strong enough. But her origin story is her pushing through a force field where her eyes start to blink and then she takes off her protective suit. She was warned that her DNA has been altered once. The first time she got pushed through that force field. If she does it again, we don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, and what happens is she has glowy eyes, super strength, and she can see energy in things. We don't really have a discovery phase of this. We don't get the superhero like, whoa, my eyes are glowing. I feel like I got super strength and I can see stuff. Let me discover it. She just kind of rocks with it. She just kind of.
Yeah, I will sort of agree with, but I mean at the same time, I don't think there needs to be some super big emotional thing that happens where someone discovers their power. I mean, I'll give that a little bit, but you know what? I think it was fine in terms of what happened. They sort of alluded to the fact that when they did the reading on her after going through the force field, that things were different.
Yes,
but I mean the whole big thing happening where someone gets their powers. I mean, it's there's a certain. I mean,
it's fundamental to comic books.
It can be compelling, but I think there's room for other things to happen. And it's like.
Clearly that's what they're going to do with her.
How many times we got to, like for example, see Bruce Wayne's parents getting shot, or how many times we got to see like Peter Parker's,
no, I don't need the Batman origin story not one more time.
His uncle even got killed in the cartoon. So
I don't need to hear
at this point. I mean, I think what you're saying is I disagree. I think we have different things. If it was a matter of she has this introduction as opposed to something. To me, I guess I'm just happy they brought her, in there because the times, I remember, the times I remember her in the comic book, it was just like, okay, sort of like, who was this person here? I'm glad, I'm glad that they brought her in. I'm glad they made room to bring her in.
Correct.
Was it a compelling origin story? Okay, I probably will have to agree. Okay, not it's not a poison spider or seeing her parents get killed, but
no, they didn't spend time with the discovery of it.
It was fine for this.
Superheroes have to have a discovery.
It will not be the top 10 origin stories of a superhero by any means.
Because
but I'm glad that they got her in the story.
And they introduced her and they brought her in. She was already an agent of a new system that they're explaining to us now, the space team. So SHIELD was killed off in the movie, the Marvel Cinematic Universe killed off SHIELD at the same time that they killed off their ultimate enemy. They both went down at the same time. So SHIELD is gone now. And now there's an outer space protecting force called SWORD. And we're thrown straight into that before the snap. Monica Rambeau knew all about it. She was already a secret agent working for the SWORD's team. But now, she's got sparkly eyes and super strength and unexplored powers. So I'm absolutely all for wanting to find out more about her. They teed her up already. This is her introduction. But we talked about this even in the Ms. Marvel movie. They missed points in Ms. Marvel. They had a clear opportunity to drop in the Captain Marvel. I said Ms. Marvel. Why did I say Ms. Marvel? Because Ms. Marvel's a totally messed up. It's the most misused name in all comic book history. And even within Marvel Comics, it was Ms. Marvel, then it was Captain Marvel, and then of course we know that originally Captain Marvel is Shazam. Shazam's just something you say. That's not something that you are. But it's such a cool catchphrase that they're like, screw it.
Yeah, they had to stick with it because
this catchphrase is so cool. Everybody just keeps calling him Shazam, and kids like to say Shazam. It sounds good when you say it. Shazam. And then you say, well, Captain Marvel, that's a terrible name. And isn't it reused over and over again? But yes, it's reused many, many times. Too many times? Yes, too many. But right in the Captain Marvel movie, Captain Marvel talks to young Monica Rambeau and she says, hey, my little Lieutenant Trouble. And that was her time to say back to her, hey, Captain. And they did.
Mm-hmm.
They did. In fact, when they finished the movie Captain Marvel, they never said her name. And I think technically speaking, even in Endgame and in Infinity War, they still haven't said her name. They still haven't called her Captain Marvel. I think Spider-Man says her name for the first time in Spider-Man Far From Home, and fake eye patch dude says, don't ever say her name around me. They don't explain why he's mad at her. He just says, don't bring her name up. So that's a super deep cut for all of you Marvel folks out there to go look up elsewhere.
Well,
as far as the bingeability.
One question though, in terms of that, was it an issue? It was an issue that he was upset. I don't think he was upset with her. I think it's because it was a different studio. You have certain permission to use certain things. So I think they alluded to her without saying it. That's just me. But anyway.
No, it was just it was just something they put in the film and they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were being cute. I need to see it again though.
They were being 2 times cute and clever. So bring it back to the bingeable nature, since this is on our bingeable series. Is it bingeable? Yes. Is it 4 fists for Jeff? No. It did start to me to become television-like. It did. It was cute when they were making fun of television. It was less enjoyable when it started behaving like television, when it started to feel like a television show. Dare I risk losing my Doctor Who card? I love Doctor Who, and we totally accepted Doctor Who being low budget the early days. Now in the modern days, they throw in nice technology, but Doctor Who was totally acceptable as a low budget, low special effect program for decades. People were happy that it was a BBC television show and it felt like a TV show. And the best parts about it were the dialogue and the clever science fiction short story concepts that were introduced in each episode.
Yeah. I remember there's a Loch Ness Monster. They basically used a sock puppet for that, and I mean, you just sort of rock with it.
And lots of rock quarry scenes.
Yeah.
Boy, that planet sure looks like the rock quarry from 4 episodes ago. Hey, isn't that a dump truck? No, it's a Dalek. Okay. Dalek dump truck.
All right. Well, let's get back to this. Let's get back to this time.
One,
I got a feeling.
I'm sorry.
I got a feeling we're wrapping it up. So
we're wrapping it up. Is that, can I give it 4 full stars? I cannot, because once the villain was revealed, I enjoyed Han less. I did. I enjoyed her over the top performance better when it was a campy satire on the television shows throughout the decades. And when it became clear, and then when they revealed her as the villain, then she went full camp, right? They closed it out. They closed out the television satire with a television show intro, reintroducing her as a television character who is the baddie. But after that, it became very television-like and less at the level of production values of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The best parts about it were Vision fight scenes. I think this is the best fight scenes we've seen from Vision. I guess I won't spoil for folks why it was exciting, because you need that excitement, because there wasn't that much to it. Once the mystery and spookiness for me were over, once we solved the mystery of why they were trapped in a television series that was moving forward through the decades, it kind of fell flat to me. It wasn't clear to me why Han was the villain and was messing with her. I mean, she explained her reason,
Yeah,
but it wasn't as clear. It's like, why are you in on this business? To your point, Claude, our character was already going through her own demons. She was facing her own problems. She had all these problems, including seeing the love of her life killed, and she created this world to satisfy her catharsis with. That could have been sufficient. And then we, as the audience, would have to struggle with: do we still love our superhero, even though our superhero probably went too far to self-heal herself? That would have been fine by itself. Instead, they give us an actual villain who, I'm sorry, kind of literally was Wicked Witch of the West. Like, she literally had a house/car thrown on her and her boots were left behind. Remember that scene? She looked like a Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, except she didn't have a cat. She had a rabbit. But yeah, no, I mean, I you know what, I will, you know, I mean, one of the things is, yeah, see, I did not know a lot about you know, what was her name? Agnes Harkness. I do know, for, you know, basically there were probably maybe like a couple of Avenger comics that I saw her in, and I know that she was I guess a nanny that helped take care of the Fantastic Four's Reed Richards and Sue Storm's son, because he has had these amazing ungodly powers, and she was the only one. She was more sort of like a nanny and an instructor. So they did a change in terms of the character. I sort of went with, you know, it. I was like, okay, this is not what I've seen before. And I wasn't necessarily, you know, I wasn't in love with the idea of her being the villain, but, you know, going back to just the different things that the show did, you know, again, I'm going to go back to the whole, I thought the concept was really fascinating. It was a top cast. I really, you know, enjoyed the story. I think she did, you know, just, you know, I think, you know, just, and just overall, I mean, just in terms of this being connective, you know, just a connection to establishing, you know, the next phase of the Marvel. They introduced some new characters, and going back to the, you know, the Monica Harkness character. I mean, okay, she sort of had this evil moment. I'm just sort of, in a way, just if they sort of come back to her, because she, you know, she alludes to the fact that she will come back to her, that maybe, you know, something is going to happen. I concede that, yeah, I wasn't in love with that idea, but in terms of the rating, I mean, I think the show surpassed my expectations. I thought, you know, they didn't do a typical let's go on an adventure and you know, the way that most of these shows would have gone.
Sure.
This was overall about you know, the Wanda eventually finding catharsis, just dealing with trauma that she had experienced through her life after going through this. And it was, to me, it was a fascinating ride. I definitely give them top scores in terms of creativity, trying something careful. Is it perfect? Probably not, but you know what? I'm going to give it a perfect 4 power fist up, because I just appreciate, you know, I appreciate what they were trying to do. And I honestly wish that other shows would try to do clever stuff with it.
I got you.
It may not exactly been a grand slam, but maybe, you know, it was probably one of those triples that got everybody else off the base. You know what? I'm going to give it a grand slam. I honestly, compared to how this could have gone, this is, I give them, you know, I give them top, you know, points for
on a whole 4-episode
Fascinating.
scale. It's certainly made it to a perfect, right? So I'm not going to give them 4 fists up because of the things that I described about it. I'm agreeing with you that it's clever. I'm looking forward to the introduction to Monica Rambeau's character, however they call her, whatever her final suit turns out to be, and hopefully it's not a Star Trek suit. I like clever. I like that they took an adventurous approach to it. It seems clear to this that again, it's just like, it seems like this is a one-shot. I mean, they're free to do whatever they like, but it's clear to me that this is a one-shot to tell this part of the story, and then they can move on. And we've been getting a lot of those lately, and I'm for that too. I think you and I both feel the same way. We felt like Watchmen was like that. That if they don't do another Watchmen series, the series was complete in its I think whatever it was, 9 episodes, and so was this one. This one did what it said it was going to do, and then a trippy dippy way of kind of reintroducing characters. So yes, they did all that. I still can't call it perfect because I've seen perfect television. I've enjoyed perfect television, all parts of it, and this didn't give me all parts of it. Maybe this. What's exciting is there's more to come, so we can get a chance to see if their other ones are going to happen. I think that's their intention. Is they drop WandaVision, then they drop a whole nother series, which will be a whole new set of characters. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So my review, 3 fists, which is a strong rating. 3 is very good. I think that both from you and I are saying it's one to watch. It's bingeable, right? It falls under our bingeables. Go ahead and enjoy the binging. Any binging tips? Since Claude, you gave 4 fists, I gave 3 fists. Any other binging tips? I'll throw out one. Even though it's Marvel Universe, they sneak in 2 Easter eggs out of 9 episodes. Use your fast forward button to verify it for yourself.
I think there are a bunch of Easter eggs actually. I think
post-credit.
But there aren't post-credit. Oh, I see. Post-credit. Yes. Yeah, you're right about that.
Sequences.
I'm about to say because these episodes are loaded with stuff. But I see what you mean in terms of post-credit. Yes.
They're only post-credit in like a couple of them, which is not cool, especially since nowadays they're making the credits super, super long. Like they throw in French credits right at the end, and they run really, really long. So use your fast forward button and recognize that there's not credits at the end of all of them. There's credits at the end of like 7, 8, and 9, but not 1 through 5.
Yeah, you know what? You're right, and it's just not. It's sure not cool because you watch the first couple episodes anticipating something and nothing's not there.
And nothing's there. Okay. And then they give you one, and this is true. They gave one in episode 7, but I got so used to the fact that there weren't any that when I watched the intro like previously on WandaVision and they showed the post-credit clip, I'm like, that wasn't in the show? I watched the whole thing. So yeah, so that's our bingeable tip to you. I think it's 7. Just kind of fast forward through the credits because they only give the post-credit sequence at the end of the last few. That's 4 fists from Claude, 3 fists from me.
4 fists, and drop the wand. Okay.
And the wand drop. Wow. Wow.
Okay.
That's high praise from Claude. It's WandaVision on Disney Plus. We're your movie review men. I'm Jeff Johnson.
I'm Claude Faitier.
We'll see you next time. Let's know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, join the conversation. We love to hear from you, not only of what else you think is bingeable, and that Claude and I should binge watch and give our review on our bingeable series, but also join the conversation about what you think about WandaVision. See you next time.